One,
Let's
and we're
go.
live. This is Nifty Culture. I'm Pio, and tonight I have a guest of honor. Goes without saying, I have the
Let's
board,
go.
the Board Ape Yacht Club Budtender, Herb. How's it going, Herb?
Man, we're keeping it live straight from the club, man. You can't get me out of the club, but you got me to just venture out far enough to chat, man. Let's go. I'm
Let's
fucking
fucking go,
pumped, man. Let's go. Mutants are
dude.
here. You're a mutant now. You're in the family. Big hug. We start out by just big ape noises, man.
I
Hey,
was,
what's that? Yo, 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 what's that? Let's
yo, this is
go.
not mine. This is not mine. I have one. This is not mine. What do you think of this ape?
Holy shit, look at that pop, man. How did they get that on the yellow with that sick fucking fuchsia? Damn. Ooh, the gold coins in that. Damn, the match with the fur.
Yeah, so what's the deal, dude? What's the deal with this ape at 7.5 ETH right now? What's the deal?
I'll be honest with you, man. The people I'm betting against right now are the people who are saying M2s over M1 because of just the natural nature of rarity, because of the way that you tend to think, premium tiers apply to what's best, what's higher skill. But the truth is, we saw with Fortraits that brands, individuals who are able to get a more clean aesthetic have a much wider variation of possibilities to then use for almost a wider potential than the traits that you have. And so for me to see something like this ape right here, I think long term people will be looking at M1s actually over M2s who choose that simple aesthetic, who choose to find something that to me the M2 is almost overwhelming more often than not.
I totally agree with you. I think the M3s, from what we've seen so far, are like the most savage, ridiculous shit
Wow.
ever.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. Out of this world, one of ones, BAYC legends. And we got some alpha, so we broke the code, I think, about that too.
yeah, exactly. But I agree with you that I like the M1s better. I'm not a fan of a lot of the floor M1s aesthetically as much as my favorite trait is the M1 grin. So I'm looking to acquire an M1. Yeah, like I'm looking to acquire an M1 grin. I have, I'll show you mine right now. Just one second. And I'm happy with it. Like I'm really pumped with the one that I got, but the M1 grin is what I'm looking for. My partner Malachi actually doesn't like his, and I haven't talked to him yet about maybe trading, but I'm hoping. But yeah, here you go. So I got this guy.
Oh my God, the puffy vest is like unreal. And the thing is that to have a match of the see-through hat with the see-through elements of the puffy jacket,
Mm,
over time, that is what really stood out to collectors. Like over time, it
mm.
was the people who could build out rarity before it had happened. And to me, like that's the type of thing that you're left wondering, like you're so grateful that the lottery won to provide that of all of the assets because there's an much larger number of permutations of possible apes, but we got the ones that were minted. We got the ones that the computer chose to let us see. And this is fucking nuts, man. Oh my God. Look at that. It's disgusting, man. They're not supposed to be awesome in the same way. And people are like, well, mine isn't pretty. This has fucking lamprey coming out of its mouth, man. That's insanity. Anybody
I'm a
who
bit.
wondered these last 10 years, like, what am I supposed to dress up as if not Batman or some shitty version of the new TV show? Like, this is the culture. Like, if you're not dressing up as your ape, if you're not, like, thinking that your ape is going to be what people want to just, like, look like to be, the future of grunge, punk, deep house, like, this to me is some trippy red shit. This to me is some, like, deep wave, fucking nasty club. Like, we're getting nasty and grimy and just, like, that culture hasn't taken in, and now the apes look kind of uptight.
Dude, I totally agree. And I was posting that I think creatives will like the mutant apes more because when I think
Yep.
about the bored apes, now that I look at the bored apes, like they almost look corporate compared to the mutant apes. And obviously I love the bored apes, right? I wish I had one. But when I look at these, right, and I can point out some specific ones that I've kind of scoped out that I think
Right.
would be perfect for like a zombie slasher movie, for
Oh
like,
yeah.
like that type of like Robert Rodriguez, like Grindhouse. And I love those
Mm.
kinds of movies, and you can make that shit really well. So I feel like that might have more like runway for like a creative person to be able to run with, you know?
Well, I was talking to someone yesterday, said, I just realized I kind of missed out on apes. I didn't have that connection, but then I realized I'm that guy who's always wearing the Iron Maiden shirts. I'm that dude who sees this and connects it and says, "Whoa, if there was a variation, a derivative of my mutant made into the album cover of one of the greats." To see that has now taken us to a new level, and it's also brought in a whole new range of people and breadth to the space, but also just our club. Our family got bigger, and you and me are now brothers. It's crazy.
100%.
And
It's
yet,
a
like you mentioned a junior membership, or maybe people might mention junior membership, and I don't know where that comes from. I know that on Twitter, when I woke up after like 6 days of not sleeping, I woke up to news of like, how come the mutants look better than the apes? And some of the apes were like, well, how come we, like, or some mutants would be in the Discord and they're like, apes only talk to apes. And I remember thinking like, this is just bizarre and strange, and the culture is just weird. And we decided that day, Ashura, who had an M3,
Yep.
there's only 8 of them who were dropped. He turned down $1 million offer to do it, to turn down. He said he went to a party, bro. I was like, "How you doing right now?" And he goes, "Bro, I'm at a party. I'm literally that meme where I'm at the party and no one knows that I have $1 million serum, offer." And he turns it down and decides I'm gonna do it. But not only that, the madman live streams it in the Discord live chat because he says, "You know what? The truth is, like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and most of
Literally.
us will never have a chance to see it." But he wanted it to be more than that. And for me, it was about seeing how mutants and apes were going to come together. So it was a big first event to say, like, well, we are the same. You and me are brothers. Like, we're in this to push together. We're in to push culture, and we're here to fuck shit up, man, mutant style.
I'm so pumped, man. And the mutants are no joke. Like I saved so many of them here that
Ooh.
they're banging. Like look at how clean this one is. This is maybe a 4 trait, right?
Yeah, that's so clean. That's what I'm saying. So like the opportunity there. And it took a while for people to realize that actually that 4 traits would be so valuable. It took a long time for people to, a whole month probably, until people stopped giving away golds, trippy suits for under 2 ETH even.
It's unreal. And like, so what's your perspective on the runway that these things have? I love this guy, by the way. I feel like this
The
guy works.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he works at the fast food restaurant or the movie theater in the zombie
But look
horror
at how the
movie.
ear, it looks like it's eating the burger. Like it's that the traits work so well together. It's that like the individual composition, it looks like the ear is going, but the earring is going even further. And it's almost
Wow.
like this crazy parallel of how like people are just devouring NFTs right now. And someone said to me, like, dude, right now, NFTs are candy. Just eat it. And and I'm thinking, about how in this moment it's unbelievable. It's just consuming itself and still giving out. It's like it's just a messed up metaphor and also representative of service economy, and also billionaires and millionaires like the irony of these service apes as well. So they're so layered.
Do we think that mutants have similar upside to regular apes? How do we think the price action looks between now and the Christie's auction after that? I just ask you and I don't expect a response. You're not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice, but you're so deep into the
Yeah,
apes
that's true.
and seeing that live stream yesterday for me, I understood the price action. I understood the Twitter avatars, but I didn't totally understand the culture before I actually got to see that with my own eyes. And now I really kind of understand it, and I'm so thrilled to be a part of it. But for people watching, right, that are looking at a mutant ape for 7.5 ETH 2 days after the drop, what do you think we can expect as far as like upside from here?
It's a really great question, and I think ultimately for anybody watching, it's so conscious that there have been so many experiences that have left people feeling a loss. Like there's nothing like seeing something go down and having bills to pay. Straight up. Like
Yeah.
there's just a really shitty feeling about the sentiment of the project. And I would say honestly that for months it didn't ever feel like we had stability. Like it almost seems like BAYC is at like a, wow, we're really solid now. But the reality is like we started like 115 days ago, and we're all experimenting on what is a very, very strange and experimental experience. And I talked to someone really early on who told me, Herb, I could invest in apes at around 5, but I think I'd rather get a fraction of a punk. And I remember thinking, interesting, right? Like the upside for both, you could argue that either way was a great decision based on where we are right now. But I remember thinking to him, like, but would you get the same value of the membership of the BAYC as holding a fraction of a punk? And before he had come into the Discord, it was less of an emotional decision. It was a lot more about wanting to make the best financial decision. And then after coming in, it was like, I can't imagine spending my time anywhere else. I'm at a party with my family and I want to be with the apes. My house is flooding right now, and the first thing I want to do is come tell the apes and then have that support. And it started to become so universal that this power of apes was so palpable that there were many, many dips. And I know that there were moments when people felt like there's reasons to move liquidity. And so I never want to discourage people from feeling like if you sell an ape, you're out of the family, or somehow like flipping to get out and then to come back in is a problem. And so the larger context is that as we build out the NFT space, so much of the way that we interact with individuals becomes the reputation. And so what I found is that over time, like who you decide to make a close acquaintance, and then who you decide to make family, and who you decide to make decisions with. And we have people who now like share 30 ETH without knowing each other. They don't know each other in real life. They've never met, they only chat, and they're making decisions that are, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars worth with trust. And you start to wonder, like, how could that be possible? How could that start to foment so quickly? And if the price starts to dip in a significant way, come into the Discord, ask questions, really engage deeply with what's happening. And so, with the auctions, obviously we don't have mutants going into auctions. I talked to Noah the Poser this morning, who is the person who's putting on the Christie's event. And for him, it's really, really annoying to take care of really high profile art that's not non-fungible. And also, as layer two approaches with ETH, major brands are coming in and they're sort of eyeing the opportunity to get in right now. So it's a matter of understanding that as we move towards the digital future, we hold what is potentially some of the greatest assets of our time. And so holding is tough. The team has constantly delivered on value for holding, but the truth is, I consider this to be like the greatest asset that I own, and I hold it so, so tightly, that I even believe that bots don't even bid for mine because they know that it would never happen. That's
Well,
how solid it's bizarre.
yeah, I mean, well, that was an amazing answer. I really appreciate, and again, see, I can tell like the depth, like how deep you are into the space. Like not everyone can come up with a response like that. I think that the culture is amazing. I think that Stephen Curry getting involved, just a recent example that's on like kind of the celebrity cultural side, and then Arizona Ice Tea, they're both equally huge. And I think that once we really do see apes licensed for like a TV show or a movie with like big name producers and creators behind it, I think that that's something, people always say like within the next 12 months. Like I could say that within the next 12 months.
Sure.
Then it happens like 7 weeks later though, right?
Right.
Like the timelines, they always get accelerated. But yeah, I mean, like for you, like in your opinion, between now and the end of the year, how do you think things go? Forget about the price, just in terms of the culture. Like, is there anything that you could see happening? Because I think everyone's sort of framing NFTs between now and the end of the year because of the Bitcoin cycle, because of how these crypto cycles have historically gone. I would just love to know your perspective as an ape maxi, if you will, between now and the end of the year. What do you think will go down?
I think I'd go toe to toe with anybody and say that no one's going to have more fun between now and the end of the year. There's no single fucking person in the world, anywhere, at any single place who will be in a better club, in a better environment, and felt more at home than at BAYC. No doubt about it. Like, there is something so infectious about the possibility that we actually brought in more people because for a long time, we wondered, how do we balance bringing in a mainstream? There's only 10,000 of them. And if we hope
Yeah.
to approach mainstream, it really required coming out with another collection. It really did mean an official derivative almost. And so, of course, like in this moment, to be in the moment of seeing the way that like communities are bridging, like this is larger than just about people who like crypto. This is about art enthusiasts. This is about people coming from sports and collecting. This is about people who believe in systems building. This is about, privacy experts and apps builders and creatives and Steph Curry and Alex Ohanian and Roham and Pio and me. And all of a sudden it's like, if you want to have a meeting with people who are changing the world, if you look at their profile, they're going to have one thing on it. It's going to be an ape. And that is so bizarre. I can tell you that I've applied for jobs in the past without an ape and not made it past interview, and post ape, shit's different. Shit hits a little different.
I could see that, man. I could see it. Like ape follow ape, and like we have NFT Sniper Bot. He goes by H Bizzle on Discord on this channel once a week to drop alpha. And he was telling me that he's just about like, connecting with apes and trying to start businesses with apes, just trying to build with apes. And like I was thinking about it, if I need a realtor to like buy an apartment or something like that, I'm gonna go to the ape Discord. I'm gonna say, is anybody like a New York City realtor? And it's like you get access, and access has a lot of value, especially if you don't have a network that provides access otherwise.
I mean, from my perspective, I think that the people who can figure out tax the best in the near future for crypto, I believe will be in the Ape Yacht Club. I believe that like over time, the utility of us actually going through the pains of literally going through the gas wars, of like actually getting rugged by projects, of like actually seeing the sweat and tears, that will actually encourage us to build out better and more improved systems. Like we do have to go through a bunch of sacrifice together as we're trying to coalesce like, theoretical debates. I mean, these are about like how we value things, and that can shift so quickly, that retail can be so nervous, that individuals who are just onboarding onto NFTs just came into the yacht club and are asking, when Lambo, I just bought an ape, when Lambo, and and it's like, well, technically, if you bought in May, it could have happened, and I think for most of us, that hasn't hit yet, and for a lot of people, it has been an insane moment to not really celebrate, because we don't know each other beyond the Discord. And so as much as you can celebrate, like we don't have a party where we, go tell everybody like, congratulations, or we don't have an event where it's like, you've changed my life. And so I do hope to be able to bring together a lot of apes to tell their stories to the founders. I think that one of the things that people don't know is that when we found out that something was happening for mutants, I decided to start I locked myself in the voice chat room for Bored Apes. We don't really even use the voice chat room, but I decided just to start in there. And then I was like, no sleep till mutants as a meme. And then it literally happened. I didn't sleep for 6 straight days. And I just spent 24 hours straight in the chat, like all day, every single day. And it's not like a group of like 200 people who are constantly in there. But I remember thinking, someone said at some point, this is the first ever camp out for an NFT drop.
Right.
And I'm a shoe collector. I'm a collector of all things. And I've been there. And it was like, oh my goodness, the culture has just shifted to NFTs. We brought those things that we love in a way that allows us to support our artist friends, to bring forward culture. And to me, like these last week was, it was experimental. It was psychedelic. It was like cathartic. But I heard so many stories of people whose lives have been changed, of people who are so hopeful for the future. And post quarantine, post what is happening, you look at the news, you look outside, and just to come into chat and have a place where you can know that there are people who love you, who love the things that make you, not just an ape, but a human being. And might be new places that do that. There might eventually be a better program or a better, project who can accomplish that. But go with what you feel. And when you want to connect so deeply, right? And this is still speculating on ETH at the same time, but I don't think you'll find somebody who's as eager to hold, Apple shares as their piece of art. I don't know if you're going to see someone who's as interested in looking at their ETH portfolio to hold. And I can show you people right now who are in positions where they really need the money, but they're like, I wouldn't sell my ape for a house. And that is insane into here, right? As more and more people become diamond handed, as this resource becomes more and more valuable, as we start to understand even what is possible, the limit is untenable. I'm expecting, offers, and I'm going to laugh at this later, but of at least 1,500 for my ape, and I think that that would be a significant underpay, um, and I think we're going to look back on that and laugh, to be honest.
That's why. What would that mean for the mutants if you're looking for an offer of 1,500 for the ape?
I think that some mutants are going to go more for apes. I think that some mutants are going to defy what's possible. I think that, we've talked many times with people who worked at Activision, big companies, and they talk about why it wouldn't be tenable for, a Call of Duty or a large game to come in and just start facilitating you as the character and sort of promoting like your brand as the character so much as like they prefer to have a consumable good. So, a basic character that you buy NFTs to make your own, as opposed to, yours that they build out from. But the truth is, when I see, if we look at some of the megas, the M3s, like that's something that deserves to be in an Assassin's Creed Valhalla as an endgame character. I mean, that's the most like legendary endgame, battle. And if there's not like 5,000 apes have to band together to like defeat the mega zombie in the swamp, like long time, like this is something that is so mythical and grand in scale that I can't imagine anybody but a massive corporation buying this and trying to make an insane amount of value from this individual piece of art.
I could totally see that. The M3s are completely out of control, insane, and I just think it's one of the way that they rolled it out with the serum is it's just one of the coolest things ever.
What are we
And
even
just
looking
seeing.
at here? What is this? I mean, what?
So what fur trait is this? Is this just the regular fur trait?
So what we think right now is that Ashura, great amazing guy, decided to open up his M3 with us, and he got a zombie. And when he thought about opening it, we thought it depended on your ape, like it would maximize your traits on your ape. And so we actually reached out to different people who had gold apes to see like, well, maybe if we used the M3 on your gold, that would theoretically be like the best of all the best apes. But then when we talked about it, people were like, no, actually, they're basically only a set amount that were already made, and you get one of those. And so what ends up happening is he pulls a zombie mega, though he didn't have a zombie ape. And then it crystallized for us like, wait, weren't there 8 drops? And then it was like, wait, aren't there 8 different furs? And then we run over to check, and sure enough. And so that's when we realized like, oh, there must be a mega. And so Machi Big Brother got the mega noise yesterday, but there's a mega robot, mega deathbot. And so that means that remaining would be mega gold, mega DMT, and mega cheetah. And so that means that like if you're holding one of the M3s now, like not only is it valuable, but now the less the more that those get used and it's not a gold, right? All of a sudden, like the value of that is just skyrocketing. And right now you have 3 people who are playing one of the most interesting games of chicken I've ever seen. And I can imagine a DAO just buying the M3 and then trying to auction it in 50 years for, thousands and thousands of ETH. I mean, it could be potentially the greatest monumental event of art history. It could be the type of event that just says like, if I have to wait 20 years to see what DMT Mega looks like, I'm going to go crazy. If I never see, it could really happen that we never see Mega DMT or Gold DMT, like, or sorry, Gold Mega like that. That could happen, and that's so heartbreaking too.
Someone could burn the M3 serum. Like, not that I'd ever like,
but
but
they could just like we would never see it. We could maybe eventually see metadata somehow, but it would just not exist, and that is so bizarre. We just have to wait, and who gets to decide that? It was an individual, a random individual.
one person.
What?
It's completely nuts, man. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible thing, like the way they approached it. And I feel like any sort of like fudding it, people are just kind of missing the point and they don't get like how ambitious and how original the structure was and how it took advantage of what you can do with NFTs. Like instead of going the easy route, they kind of revolutionized. And I think that you're going to see this now get copied a bunch of times, and then Bored Apes will, they'll revolutionize again.
And people will always say, right, like, well, you can only last so long. And it's like, well, enjoy the good times, like enjoy it when it's going. And ultimately, I think that there is a fair criticism that people say, well, there's still Anon. The team is still Anon. We don't even know. And I actually heard someone in the chat, and I don't want to fuck them. I don't want to be like, this is inappropriate. And it's not. But they were like, what if they just rugged us? What if they just like took the money and they just left? And it was like, like I really thought about it for a second, and I wondered, and I thought, I would be fine. But either way, I remember thinking like, the genuine nature which with I've had, and the interactions which with I've had, and the authenticity that they've gone to prove that they really care, not just about this project, but just that they were 4 dudes sitting on a couch talking about apes, that they're so authentic about, when they sold out 10% of the mint, it was about paying their moms back. Like, that gives me chills. It was about putting family first. And when Bored Apes passed $1 billion market cap, Gordon responded. And like, he doesn't really post on Twitter. I think Gordon, Gargamel, Emperor, Tomato Ketchup, No Sass, I think each of them has like less than 500 followers on Twitter. It's insane. They're like the most unknown, creative, most amazing, ambitious people in the world. And in response to the $1 billion cap, Gordon says, not bad for a high school dropout. And it's like, what kind of chip is on this guy's shoulder? Like, what type of energy, what type of fire is here? And like, if that is burning you, then like, of course that's, not the right space. But for me, like, as somebody who is as eager to see the world change, as eager to have an opportunity to really exist on the same plane as people who will intersect with, the people who will at some point define how we choose to use and value the things that we care about, the way that we interact with the ones that we love. All of those things will be made up to me in a moment like this. In this moment that we went in and I met you, Pio, and that we decided to just tap in and sacrifice a lot of our time and our energy and our desire and our sleep, to find each other, because we were desperate. I think I was personally desperate to find you.
Let's go, dude. Yo, I got chills. Dude, I got chills right now, dude.
I knew we were out here, but I was alone for a long time. But I knew that we were out here, and we just had to keep going. We just had to keep pushing. We just had to keep trying and keep the faith, man. I mean, it sucks sometimes, but we found each other.
Dude, I got chills, man. Wow. I just, I'm blown away by what you're saying. And again, I see the depth, and I also see the kind of passion, but it's really just passion behind what's going on, with Bored Ape Yacht Club. And people that don't understand, like, they will eventually understand.
Right.
I think it's incredible. So I want to switch gears a little bit here, because I'm very curious to hear your perspective, man. You mentioned that you're a sneaker collector. You did this real like 6-day camp out, just like if you were waiting for a pair of Jordans or something in a tent. When do you think sneaker collectors will come to the NFT space like en masse, like really get here and really understand that just because they don't have the physical shoebox does not mean shit? And it's the same thing. If anything, it's just a cool liquid way to do it.
Something that I love about myself and something that I hate about myself is this happening right now. And it's like, it has the potential to remember the idea, but not the person. And so I want to like tag this somehow back, like that I apologize for not remembering, but there's an artist who spoke so clearly in this moment, and growing up as a visual designer, they're now a sneaker maker, but their sneakers are not, they're like nothing you've ever seen before. And if I could post it, we should look up a photo, but he went on to say, if shoes are an NFT, then they don't have to go on your feet. And if shoes don't have to go on your feet, then what would they look like? And that was freaking crazy. It was as if to say, form over function and meets beauty is no longer the design aesthetic. It means that, like, hypothetically, the shoe is a composition of ephemeral feelings that you buy into and is a representation of a much larger art piece. And how that intersects with shoes, how that intersects with fashion, could be utility, could be the variations of it. But he was saying, when we enter the metaverse, the ways that we perceive goods, the way that we perceive items is so radically stunted right now that we can only imagine shoes, sneakers online. Like, let's bring Air Jordan 1 as an NFT. Like, let's bring my favorite sneakers online. It's like, no, like, what would humans who didn't have feet look like? What would, like, animatrons that, have some human form? I think that some of the robots from Bored Apes, from the mutants, should look less like robots. I think they should look more like they have wheels on their feet or they have gears hanging out of them, like, but that we're so that we're so human centric still for design. And so for me, like, when you really think about like what it looks like I'm not going to wear sneakers that are like crazy like that, but it's the inspiration that people are pushing the boundaries. And so for any creative out there who is on their own doing things that are really out there, like, we do watch, and like many of us are very, hopeful. And when I see sad things, I remind myself, like, there is a huge population of people who's designing a human that has nothing to look like or do with the current human form.
That's amazing. That's like, sneaker inspired artwork is really what you're talking about,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, I think that'd be incredible. I guess, like, as collectors, do you see those folks all eventually making the jump over?
I can tell you right now, man, I have 75 sneakers in my closet right now. I have 1996 Air Jordan 1 Space Jams. I have Blue Lobsters, Concepts collector box that you could only get, by going to Concepts. I have What the Dunks. I have all the shit I ever wanted to have. And it is such an annoyance to have to take care of them. It is the
Yeah.
most frustrating thing, to realize that I've spent like 10 years, I've spent thousands of dollars, I spent an entire, like, every time I move, like, an entire amount of effort to preserve these things that now someone can't even wear. Like, no matter how good of a job I did to preserve them, you can't wear them. All of the stuff from the 90s, you just have to replace. And so, like, any car collector knows, the RS Camaro is not the SS. It just isn't. There's a distinction. And so, do you want to wear it? Do you want to hold it? And so for me, if Nike decided, okay, if you have an old 1996 pair, we're going to drop you a metaverse pair, like, that would be nuts in the future for sure. But I started liquidating my sneakers to get into NFTs directly as a result of not just being tired, man, of taking care of that. And I'm just a small collector, but that's what Noah the poser was saying about Christie's. He was saying people are tired of having to go through all of this effort to take care of their assets. And they were talking about millions, billions of dollars, and I'm talking about, thousands of sneaker dollars, but the concept that we're moving past the fungible nature of it at all levels.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. And I think that people are just realizing that digital is much easier, and sneakers is a perfect example because, when you have the digital version, there's no maintenance. It's just like a carefree way to hold it. And I wouldn't be surprised if people that are buying comic books and people buying other vintage collectibles will actually just elect to store them with third parties, the same way that like gold and
That's right.
silver are typically, yeah, stored with third parties. I even heard Beanie from Pixel Vault talking about the idea that that's a business, that needs to be capitalized on right now. Like, someone needs to start a business of just like secure storage, third party storage for those vintage collectibles, to kind of have like an NFT version in a way where the person owns the asset, but they don't have to receive it in the mail. They don't have to send it anywhere. They just know that they own it. And you'd probably get a digital token, an NFT with it.
I mean, it's absolutely revolutionary, and the way that Beanie, that's who you mentioned, right? Had mentioned it.
Yep. Beanie. Yep.
So, just the way that these influencers are, sorry, not influencers, but what I'm trying to say is that people like Beanie and people like Dees are able to share wisdom that really spurs entire movements. And so the example that I'm thinking about is Dees being in a space, and John Knopf is talking about his photography career. And John Knopf is a successful photographer. Kath had just sold a piece for 30 ETH, a huge sale for her, a massive transcendence of the space. And on the stage, they're talking about fractional ownership of portfolios of photography. And so through that, John starts to ask him questions, and in the end, they form a fractional vault that is essentially one of ones of what I think are four of the greatest photographers and digital work that exists right now. And in a short amount of time, we saw a really radical nature to take what is typically a system that says, you know, we have to force you to go to a studio, we have to force you to go to a gallery to sell this, we have to force you to compete against one another as photographers. And they took that and were able to, from one discussion, one person helping carry that out, and are now, to me, pivoting one of the most, you know, innovative business models, really, and ownership opportunities that exist. The photo, I think it was photofund.io.
Yeah, I think the photography super primed, for being completely converted pretty much to NFT because, if you talk to photographers and my creative background is music video directing, so I had to try really hard to get good at photography for cinematography purposes. If you talk to photographers, they'll tell you that monetizing their work has always been a struggle. You can sell
Like
physical.
dollars. You get like dollars for digital work.
Straight up, like dollars for digital work, selling physical art books, like, unless you're an incredibly successful, top 0.01% tier photographer, you're not going to break the bank with photography books. Selling prints at an art show, like think about how small the scale is of the audience that you're actually selling to. So now that we have the global scale through NFTs, where people will buy the NFT as a digital token of authenticity, a social media flex, and something for their NFT collection, but then they can still print it and hang it on their wall in a frame. Like I know a lot of people are kind of like digital maxis, but I think that the whole, have the NFT as the token of authenticity, use the physical for a frame on your wall is going to be huge. And just one example, in my mom's house, there's a painting by Mario Schifano, very famous Italian postmodern painter, and she bought it in the 80s in Italy, where he was from, and the
Wow.
token of authenticity for that is just a Polaroid picture of the piece with his autograph on the back. So if that's not an NFT, I don't know what
Wow.
is, right? It's literally an NFT. So why wouldn't you move forward with that digital, impossible to pirate version in NFT form?
Oh my God. I'm thinking about Ansel Adams, who
Yeah.
has, to me, in this moment, it would be most easily put that I am a cultural anthropologist and I just discovered one of the greatest human experiments of all time. And we said in a space earlier that oftentimes language gets used to define us when those of us who are more ephemeral, more artistic, more creative are more just trying to use words for cathartic expression, for release. And through the photography work, Ansel Adams was able to capture a time, like a moment in time, when we look back, it's a way of preserving the way that history looked at a certain time. But the largest individual collection of Ansel Adams is owned by um, oil. Is an individual oil baron in Houston, and for me, as somebody who is so yearned to see what America looked like, for me to really define, like, I want to see that artwork, and I don't agree that it gets to be behind this gated wall with somebody who, in my mind, didn't even contribute to that value. And so, for so many reasons, NFT and photography intersect, but it is, about how our lives have been coming together, and NFTs have just been a natural fit for many of us.
Many of us from different backgrounds. And, I think that there's so many different types of people that have made their way to the space, and it's only going to attract more and more as the space evolves and there's more, use cases for the technology, right? It's just going to impact everything just like the internet did. So let's shift back to apes a little bit. As much as I'm enjoying the conversation, Christie's, Sotheby's, it's a big
Huge.
deal.
Huge.
What's about to go down
Yeah,
now?
what can we expect? I mean, realistically, there hasn't really been anything like what we've seen with apes. And the largest, if you were to write a headline, it's Christie's and Sotheby's are petty. That's the headline. Like, imagine that these organizations have been around for longer than 300 years. Like, just consider that it really doesn't matter over 300 years in some cases whether or not a 2 week amount of time happened or didn't all the time. But for some reason, while apes were about to go to Christie's for the first ever digital auction where NFTs would be sold in Asia, for some reason, Sotheby's had to front run. Why? Why, with 4 weeks to go, just have the drive or have the desire or just decide to go in and front run? And so we start to ask ourselves, like, whoa, like, are we in a position here where people are desperate to grab the asset that I'm holding? I mean, this is about putting ourselves in a position to come to understand that we're about to have an entire new audience looking at us. And at the same time, we have no idea what we're actually holding. None of us really knows. None of us has any idea what this all means yet. And so, to me, here's what I actually am interested in. Sotheby's um, has officially announced they're doing 2 auctions for 2 lots, and one lot has 101 apes. And we could probably go through the wallet, but there are multiple pizzas, there are blue beams, there's 3 golds in there, there's trippies. Like, for a couple $1 million, I would want to liquidate everything I have and throw into a party bid or start a DAO. And so we asked about that. And so you need to have know your client, or KYC. So if you had just one person who was verified at Christie's, for example, we could all just do that. And it was a sort of like, as long as you're dealing with one person and the cash is all like with one person, then it's all gravy. Like, you guys deal with the back end stuff. But that we don't really see the sort of like party bid atmosphere of this, like, being able to pool a multi-signature wallet to bring money to fund this. But a lot of apes are coming together and saying, like, wow, we should buy these 100. That seems really cheap. The 12 to 18 million estimation. That seems really cheap. And so in this moment, like, of consolidation, I think that that will be a huge buy. There's 101 dogs after that. And I was a little bit upset, thinking like, that it would diminish the individual value of the apes. But we have no idea what's about to happen. And then for Christie's after that, for the 4 suit apes, it's going to be a big mark of where we go. And we need to pass 1,000 sales. It's unbelievable that we haven't had 1,000 sale yet. It's a matter of time. And at the same time this is all happening, the #1 rarity trait ape was listed on Opensea with a minimum bid of 1,777 ETH. So we have a Sotheby's auction, a Christie's auction, and the largest possible sale for Opensea for apes of all time. And those 3 things happening in the same month is just unbelievable. And to me, if Opensea was able to get a larger amount of ETH and wealth than either Christie's or Sotheby's, then it will have been the inflection sale that will have signaled that we're in an entirely new ecosystem where people who would rather take ETH than cash, people who would rather go through OpenSea than a typical broker, and that NFTs are here and they're going to rip. It's absolutely insane.
100%. And, I saw people talking about how Superrare, they just as an example, Superrare, because, it's all about the kind of fine art side, is totally positioned because of disruptive innovation, right? When you start talking about disruptive innovation, this is what the modern investment community looks for when you think about Cathie Wood and ARK Invest. And if you apply it to this space, if you look at Christie's and Sotheby's, right? And then you look at Superrare, who just released its own token, its own currency, and airdropped the artists, airdropped the creators, airdropped the collectors. It's pretty clear that, like, we're pretty primed for Superrare to take over, and there's no way that a Christie's or a Sotheby's will be able to evolve fast enough. They should just be really thrilled that they picked up on NFTs as quickly as they did, and they're getting a chance to auction off the NFT based artwork, because the prestige that they still carry after hundreds of years of being in existence and hundreds of years of reputation as the fine art, mainstay, is not lost on the artists the artists that are creating NFTs, and those artists are really excited at the prospect of having their work auctioned off by Christie's or Sotheby's. But as Superrare gains that reputation, as Superrare, continues to disrupt and continues to innovate, you will see just a full-blown takeover, and then more platforms, Opensea included, will obviously just also innovate, because why wouldn't they? They have to.
I know that with any high growth company scaling, staffing, and just being able to stay focused. I mean, we're in a position right now where Opensea was, a couple people, and we have a good friend who's an ape named Nostro, who was the first registered user of Opensea, and for many months carried a lot of the volume of the site. And it's always so humbling to hear, because on a day-to-day basis, damn, man, like Opensea gets just tossed around like Dead Sea, Opensea's dead again, it's just like all day, and everyone's bashing Nate all day. And then I think about how, just a couple months ago, there was just 3 guys. Not too long ago, it was just 3. And one day I put in BAYC chat, I said, hey, who thinks that there's more than 50 employees at Opensea? And then a bunch, I think it was like 15 people said more, and like 3 people put less. And it kind of blew me away, like that the expectations of what we're working with almost seem so professional. They almost seem so ready. But to me, Opensea is like it's like MySpace. It's like we're at the fundamental beginning, and we're trying to make it work, but it's a matter of time before we get to a much better spot where, this is all so much more fluid and easy, and we're gonna laugh at this moment. We're gonna look back and laugh. I know it.
I think so too, man. We're pushing an hour coming up here, so let's. I just want to hit a couple of points or a couple of questions, because you're, obviously a Bored Ape expert. What's the most underrated trait for Bored Apes?
It's a good question. Let me see. Oh yeah, I have the hottest take actually. I have like the hottest golden take about the best. I think the Crazy Eyes on DMT is so freaking crazy. Like, can we pull it up? It's a punk jacket, Crazy Eyes DMT, and to me, the way that the Crazy Eye as it pops out matches the DMT, mid like forehead eye, is like one of the few apes that actually gives a sense of perspective. Like very few of the apes, apart from the Crazy Eyes, have like a 3D visual. So I think it's like Crazy Eyes plus DMT, and it has a punk jacket. But the more that I look at this ape, it's like, yeah, 181.
This guy right here.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I've said this for months, like that the way that the eyes illustrate to me like this perfect like combination, that they really took the effort to really think about that. And so I wouldn't say that like go out and buy this if you had to, because this is like a very personal thing to me, but this is like this is the pinnacle of the 2D work of the ape. This is like the most sophisticated level of artwork to me that exists within BAYC. In terms of value, it's criminal what's happening to noise. I mean, absolutely, it's just it's unbelievable. It's the fact that people think when they see it as a PFP that it's gray fur. But as we approach the metaverse, noise is going to absolutely annihilate. I think that laurel wreaths were criminally undervalued for so long. I think that really when I'll be happy, when I'll be happy is when pink dresses and blue dresses are going for thousands. Like that's the real undervalued trait that gets no respect, and people just toss it over and over. But one day, blue and pink is going to get its due. Blue and pink dress are going to get its due for sure. And then for mutants, man, like I'm a big M1 flipped brim over M2. I really like the tweed suit from M1. I think is amazing. Where I don't like the tweed suit on M2, for example. And man, there's so many great deals that are going on right now. But with the apes, I mean, somebody picked up a suit today for like 400. That will go for thousands, but still, probably the laurel wreaths are probably the most undervalued trait right now due to convinced rarity. But and there are four traits that are like sneaky four traits because they have one other trait that doesn't qualify. So like girl's hair should be a four trait, but it isn't. And then there's like four traits with earrings, and those I think there's only like 75 of those, and it took a lot of the time for people to realize. And so eventually that will be like a really exclusive club of diamond hands, the four trait with earrings, which is almost a sneaky four trait basically.
Well, that's an awesome kind of summary. I agree with you about like the M1 versus M2. I think if I had M2 serum, I'd sell the M2 serum and buy up M1s based on aesthetic. I really like the M1 grin, like I was talking about it before. In my opinion, it really makes the M1 apes for sure. I just want to pull it up again. I want to do a little analysis here on the market while I have you on because you're so familiar with it. Are there any buys that you think are pretty obvious based on like where you could see things going, knowing what you know about apes and knowing what you know about the demand for for mutants? Like when I look here, this is the one we were looking at before. This is the floor for the grin at 7.5. And I think our floor is maybe at 6.5, 6.75 overall. So that's looking like a deal. And it's looking like, is this a four trait right here?
Damn,
It is
that's so clean.
at 8. Wow.
Whew. That's the thing, like it becomes so available to just manipulate. Like it's so versatile. Wow, coins, golden
Damn.
brown.
For
The thing about gold too, like like that as an M2 would look pretty nuts too. The brown fur looks like it's golden brown fur.
Yep.
Yeah, golden brown. Check out golden brown fur M2. It's like this luscious locks. It's probably my favorite fur actually. Eventually I'm gonna try to get a golden brown fur.
And so when you say eventually you'll try to get that, like what's the strategy? Do you try to flip to get to that? Or is that like just something where, you'd sell one of your other apes to do it or do a trade? Like what does that look like for you?
So I considered trading. I had multiple M1s, and I was considering trading 3 M1s for 1 M2 to use on my rare ape, and I was going to use 1 M2 and 1 M1 on my very rare. I have one ape that's like a very very rare one, so I figured I'm just going to not mutate my other apes at all, and then just put it all on the line for my rare one. And I ended up holding against it because I don't really like the I don't really like the robot eyes. I don't really like the robot eyes 1 or 2. Um, and actually, what after we see this one, yeah, see, I love that.
Savage. This is crazy.
Yeah, so like a four trait, that's basically like a four trait with the halo and then the earring. But like you can tell, like that four trait that we're just looking at will be, so visually available, but just stunning. It's just something that you could totally see on a wall and just be like, whoa. It's gorgeous. So I think there are a lot of people who are going to be sleeping on the M1 M2 thing. I think a lot of people are holding M2 right now. And can we shill Lucky Ones? He has this robot hypnotized eyes, because I think hypno eyes are not that cool in version 1 to the majority of collectors, but they took hypnotized eyes and just absolutely took it to the next level. It's crazy. And you know what? The M2 BAYC hat, it looks like it's literally reflecting his eyes. But that's just good luck. The hat happens to have that hue, and it's not his eyes. It's actually just like the hat trait. But I don't think that there's a better pair than that M2 hat with the hypno eyes. It's so freaking crazy. And when I see that, it just makes me just cry. Like it's art. It's so stunning. It's so incredible. It's so beyond human. It's gorgeous.
It's so sick, man. Shout out to Lucky Ones, absolute badass. I've been telling him to get out there more. I heard that he's been participating in the BAYC voice chat. That's what I like to hear. I've been pushing him to come on this show. He verbally agreed. It hasn't happened yet. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Herb,
that's gonna be
maybe
a
when
huge party.
maybe when he comes on, you can join too, and we can make it a real ape party.
No, that's gonna happen, and you know, Lucky Ones would come into chat. I'll tell a funny story about Lucky Ones because I know he's gonna get so embarrassed. He's gonna face palm emoji in the chat. He would come into BAYC chat and always drop the same emojis. This like fist bump and the logo.
Orange. Yeah.
Or and then I'd always be like, that's cool. And then he'd always do like Herb and then fist bump and then the logo. And then I would do it back, or sometimes I do like a fist bump gif, but I was like, what's up with this guy? Like and he would always do that. And then one day I'm talking to Chase, the mod, and he's like, hey, does this guy want to punch me or something? Like, what's the deal? And I'm laughing so hard, and I'm like, no, man, it's like a fist bump. And then and he's like, oh, I get it. And so, you know, for like maybe 2 months, Lucky Ones like only interacted with like a brief emojis. And now we chat all day. And now he's in there welcoming people. He's like a mainstay that people come to rely on. And so that hasn't been that long, right? And we so value Lucky Ones. We value so many people who have really come out of their comfort zones, you know, to make this possible. That's it,
Yeah,
right
Lucky
there.
One.
That's it. The punch in the orange. That's Lucky Ones right there.
He's the absolute man. He posts Taco Tuesday gifs in the Discord all the time, and like the timing of it is so perfect. It's just like he comes through in the morning, but then again in the evening with the Taco Tuesday. It's the best.
He goes, hold on, I have to go pick up. I gotta pick up the kiddos, and he's racing back to the tacos.
He's like, oh man, I missed the stream. I was getting pizza. It's like always like doing something cool.
Lucky Ones, we got so much love, and of course, I have to give a big shout out to Orange Gang. The Orange DAO has always put it down. It's always been a huge community, and for us, like, it was about being inclusive in a way that was very exclusive. It was about like, if you're orange, we love you, and if you're not, we love you too, but like from a distance. And then it was just so hilarious to realize like there's a ton of orange backgrounds across NFTs. And then it was like, whoa, like we're so pent up with apes all the time that we need more. We need more. And like the truth is that we need more of a diversity of opinions within the NFT space. And so oftentimes, like if you're an ape right now, you go into a different server and projects are like, whoa, the apes are here. And it's kind of intimidating. It's kind of awkward too, because you're like, I'm going to change my profile picture when I come in here. Like it's just giving off weird vibes. But to see over time when they start to feel like, wait, you guys are just like me. Like literally maybe just got lucky. And I'm like, exactly. Like that's what I'm trying to tell you. We're the same.
Yeah, like I know what you mean, that like the ape, and when you see like a bunch of apes in a room, it does carry like a certain like vibe to it, and I feel like people might be like, oh shit, but it's not like the apes are gonna like do anything weird. Like all the apes are
You're
awesome,
right.
so it's like I don't think there's that many. I haven't really experienced any like toxic apes. I've experienced toxic other people in like Twitter Spaces, but it hasn't really been apes. This is the sad frog yeah, this is the sad frog NFT that I bought that had an orange background. That was my initial entrance into the Orange DAO per Lucky One's invite. He was nice enough to invite me and really kind of like push me to join the DAO. So I was thrilled with this one, but I will be in there with an orange background, mutant or ape at some
Wow.
point. I'm making moves, man.
Wow. Wow. You heard it here first. I mean, that's the type of thing. Orange, for a long time was a ground, like a floor trait that a lot of people didn't value, and like a lot of good things with the apes. When I first heard about the apes, it was because I was on Clubhouse all the time. I don't know if you remember, but there was a time when Elon Musk was on Clubhouse and he interviewed um, Vlad Tenev from Robinhood, and that was this just crazy visceral moment of like, whoa, these two like heads of states of our future worlds are communicating through Clubhouse right now. And so I just kept staying there, and eventually one day the room that I was in for a while was just all apes, and then we just went around making ape noises just like you and me did and having fun. And then we went to Dane Cook's room, and one of the people who was in ape was famous enough to get mod powers and let us all up one by one. And then all of a sudden he goes, banana split. Dane Cook mid-sentence and everything, and we just start going, full volume, and the whole room is so freaking crazy. And Dane Cook is so mad, and he like complains to Clubhouse and get in trouble, and everyone's like, "What type of performance art is going on here?" And it just grew from that, and it was a type of infectious energy that felt like being with your middle school friends again. There's nothing that rivals that, and so to compare that with what happened when I changed my background ape to an orange, it was just like, wow, it's funny to just see orange in the chat. And that became a group of like over 300 super dedicated people who want to like drink orange juice from an orange grove that's owned by Orange DAO members and like all live in Orange County and like change orange laws and like go full orange. And it's like, what is happening? And I look at Jake Paul yesterday go fight and he's like full orange out and he's got like this full orange outfit. And I'm like, what's happening? And everyone's booing him, and I'm like, yeah, let's go orange. It's so orange.
I love the Orange DAO, man. I loved it the first time I went in there. Everyone going ape shit, like everyone, doing all the orange memes. You guys got like an army of them ready to rock. I'm not an old pro in there like that. I can't just do like exclamation point lick Herb and then
Oh my
boom, the meme
God,
goes out.
No, but it's so much good fun, and I'll tell you what, like the truth is, I'm in here day in and day out, and I care about this work because I think long term, what it looks like for crypto adoption is a real battle. I oftentimes think to myself that the investments I'm making now, when I tell my friends, and they're like, "That's dumb," I'm like, "Oh man, what if normies just reject us? What if like all this time I put into NFTs just is all for naught?" And then I started like flooding myself out, and I remember like I'm El Salvadoran. I'm from a nation that is making Bitcoin its currency.
Let's
And whether or
go.
not proof
Let's
of stake, proof
go.
of work, like it's about opening systems of power. It's about enabling people to use a Web 3.0 economy. And for that, it means we need internet access nationwide. It means we need access to technology ports and access across so many different spectrums of economy. It means that like how are we going to get from here till people on the streets of El Salvador all using smart 3.0 wallets? Like you think right now that onboarding MetaMask clients is hard, but the truth is like I'm trying to think about what it's going to look like to onboard a nation. I'm thinking about what it's going to look like to really be the important bridge, right? That we might take learnings from this moment to improve on what is probably the most ambitious challenge of my generation for me. And so I have a very rare ape. In my case, it's the only pizza that has a DMT fur, and so anybody who knows me knows how much it has meant to me to get to this point. And so for me, it isn't so much about selling it, flipping it, or leaving it as a will, so much as endowing it to a nation. I believe that El Salvador will have my piece of digital art, which is to me the greatest piece of digital artwork that will exist of this era, that people in hundreds of years will look back and reflect and know that Pizza DMT was the greatest piece that represents NFTs for an entire generation. And the people who will own that are in a Central American DAO or the nation of El Salvador. And for once, I've had an opportunity to cause an entire magnanimous shift, and I'm going to take that opportunity. And there's almost no amount of ETH that could, take that away. And so, to me, onboarding, to me, building a future that is more equitable through apes is so much more than a floor. It's so much more than an aesthetic that I vibe with. It's about, truly going to war day in and day out and choosing to battle the people who I love. Orange DAO, the apes, the mutants. Because together is the only way we can do it. It's about decentralized nature. It's about leaving you guys a way to move forward when we're not here anymore. So we can leave, a significantly better future. Things are getting worse in many situations, but this is one of the few ways that we can really battle back, and I'm going to take every opportunity I can.
Let's fucking go, dude. That's what I'm talking about, man. Bro, I'm blown away. I did not expect you to tell me that your master plan, your grand vision is to donate your ape to the nation of El Salvador as they lead the charge for the digital decentralized revolution of hard money and fairness for people all over the world. We have to end on that note. This was unbelievable. You're welcome anytime. I hope you'll come on with other apes, man. I hope that we can have more apes on now that I'm in the club. I'm pissed that I missed out on it for as long as I have, but I'm just so thrilled to be here now and just looking to capitalize on it and get more apes and maybe eventually have a proper ape too. But I'm so happy with my mutant. Dude, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, much love, PO. Be safe.
Absolutely. Everyone follow Herb at Herb_Castillo. Check out him running shit in the voice chat, in the Bored Ape Yacht Club Discord. Running shit. I recognize it. I recognize the skill, dude. All the hours going in. It's not for nothing. You got the skill, and that's a monetizable skill. Absolutely. So watch out for fucking Herb if you guys are paying attention. I don't know if anyone, I see 45 people are watching right now. I don't know if you know that was like a dope ass hour of nifty culture. I just want to make sure everyone kind of understands that.
It's for the culture.
Let's go.
Let's go.